You are listening to A Scary State, and this week we're talking about West Virginia. So, Lauren?
Yes, Kenzie?
Let's get scary.
Let's do it. So, I have a funny story to tell you.
Okay.
Oh, I'll tell you that in my story. Funny story. I had a scary thing happen, and I wanted to tell you, but I talk about it in my story, so I'll just tell you about it then.
Okay.
Okay, so I really wanted to make soup. And so I made soup on Saturday for my meal prep, right? It asked for, it called for 3/4 of a cup of pasta.
Okay.
I said, okay. And it's those little teeny diddleini pastas.
Uh-huh.
So I poured 3/4 of a cup and I was like, that does not look like nearly enough pasta.
Yeah.
So I just kind of dumped a lot in. Well, they tell you only 3/4 because it sucks up all the liquid. So it went it went from being a soup
To a sauce?
to like a stew. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like I can still eat it as a stew. So I, put it in the Tupperware, whatever. Well, it keeps going. It keeps sucking things up.
Mm-hmm.
It then turned into like a chili. So it's been a chili. And then I didn't want to like put it in the fridge for like 5 days or whatever because then it goes bad. So I put it in the freezer. So I took it out last night, let it defrost. Well, it didn't do that enough. So when I got to work today, it was still an ice chunk. So I'm in the kitchen chiseling away at my lunch so I can eat it. And my coworker was in there. He's like, Lauren. And I was like, I don't want to talk about it. So I heated it up and it was delicious. But all of the extra water that was on the ice and stuff helped make it more soupy. Not soupy, not really chili, but like more liquidy. But regardless, it's been delicious.
I hope so, because that description does not sound yummy.
No, that doesn't do it justice, but it's really good.
That's good.
And I have so much because the damn pasta expanded so much, and now there's too much food.
Yeah, I have too much chili. So I can relate to that.
You just have to eat it like every day.
Well, I rewrote down the directions from the pictures you sent me so I didn't have to keep going to the picture.
Yeah.
And I realized at the bottom what 20 plus or minus meant.
Yep.
20 servings, 20 people.
20 servings.
And I was like, well, goddamn. Guess I'm going to have chili for a while.
That's why I make it to bring to my parents' house when other people come over, because I say I don't know how to reduce the recipe.
Yeah. Because I should have known when I was like looking at the cans, and I realized when it said 15 ounces, it wasn't like the total, it was per can.
Yeah, and you put like 8 cans of stuff into this chili.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a lot. It's still yummy though. So
it is delicious.
It's very good.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
It's our like family chili.
But yeah. I added my own little pizzazz.
I just love how you were like, yours was more flavorful. And then you're also like, but I didn't add this spice or this spice or this spice or this one.
No, I only just took out the cayenne. But I realized when I got back from the store that it was one package. And for whatever fucking reason on my list, I wrote 1 cup of Taco Zero. So I'm like, yeah, a package should be fine. And then realized when I got back home that it was 1.5 packages. And I said, well, this is not going to have that.
Because I throw in 2 packages.
Yeah. So I'm glad I didn't go too overboard. And next time, hopefully I don't overcorrect.
I think you'll be fine.
But it still tasted good regardless.
Good. Just follow the recipe to a T, like minus jalapenos. Oh, I've been eating this snack that I know you're going to hate, but I think it's so funny. It's green pea crisps. If anyone's had them, they're delicious. But each time I eat them, I laugh because I'm like, oh, this would be Mackenzie's least favorite food.
Yeah, those are gross.
Oh, so we wanted to give 2 thank yous to 2 people who gave us 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. So we have Bex Biz and Tori Tootsie Roll. So thank you to you 2 so much. Your comments and reviews are amazing.
They make us feel so good inside.
They do. I had to read them to Mackenzie before we recorded because it made me so happy.
Yeah.
So thank you. Reach out to us over email or social media or whatever so we can send you something.
Mm-hmm. And if you haven't liked and reviewed us, you should.
On all the things.
And anything that is capable of that. As long as it's nice. If you're going to just be mean, don't do that. Please.
If you have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
That's why I learned in kindergarten.
And from Bambi.
Sure.
Humper. Did you never watch Bambi?
I did, but the mom dies and I kind of just stopped after that.
Yeah.
It was definitely one of those movies that gave me too much anxiety when I watched it, so just watched it once.
Okay, I can understand that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to West Virginia. West Virginia is called the Mountain State because it's the only state completely within the Appalachian Mountain region, and its average elevation is higher than any other state east of the Mississippi River. At least 70 kinds of mammals inhabit West Virginia, including Virginia big-eared bats, West Virginia northern flying squirrels, raccoons, skunks, and black bears, the state animal. That's so cute.
Big-eared bats?
Yes, and all the other animals you said. Wild turkeys, ruffed grouse, barred owls, bald eagles, cerulean warblers, and ruby-throated hummingbirds. They are all among the 300 species of birds that live in the state. The New River Gorge Bridge in Fayetteville is the longest steel arch bridge in the Western Hemisphere. Built in 1977, it turned a 40-minute mountain drive into a 1-minute crossing. Dang. It's even pictured on the West Virginia quarter. What? What?
Dang.
Commutes suck. Okay. Wheeling Suspension Bridge used to be the world's longest. In 1849, the Wheeling Suspension Bridge was opened to the public after 2 years of construction. It served as a faster and more direct route across the Ohio River. The bridge became a Natural Historic Landmark in 1975, despite it being on the National Register of Historic Places at the time. Its historical significance is that it was the world's longest suspension bridge at some point. There's a house made out of coal. In Williamson, West Virginia, you can find the Coal House. Unique name. Constructed in 1933, the building is made from 65 tons of coal. The house is used as the town's chamber of commerce and is a tourist attraction. In 2010, the building caught fire, that's dangerous, and was extremely damaged. The 1937 Ohio River flood had devastating results all over the eastern part of the U.S. After nearly 3 weeks of consecutive rain, the river was unable to contain its water levels. Nearly 1 million people were left homeless as a result of the natural disaster. Huntington, West Virginia was just one of the many towns that were destroyed. Wild onions, called ramps, are grown in West Virginia in spring. They're so popular that they have their own annual festival called the Feast of the Ransom. I'd go. I love onions.
I do too.
The natural wonder is Beartown State Park. Its 107 acres have been minimally developed since its establishment more than 40 years ago, created in part to memorialize a fallen soldier in the Vietnam War. The landscape includes strange rock formations made up of Pottsville sandstone, which were deposited thousands of years ago at the shore of an ancient sea. Thanks to erosion, pathways now weave among the town of rocks. That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
It reminds me of just the description of it, of Annie's,
Who's Annie?
Annie's Canyon in California. It's just like
with Nora's face.
The one with Nora's struggle to get out.
Just not having a good time.
It was my favorite. It took her so much to convince her to go through it because it's very claustrophobic because it's just straight up.
It's tight.
But getting out was just so funny.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
All right, Mackenzie, let's kick this off. What are you telling me?
Whew. So this is a first for me, but this case was brought to my attention by one of our Instagram followers, who I think is also one of our friends who left our comment. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
This one's for you, girl. So this is about a missing girl in her hometown, meaning the person who sent me this story, that has been missing since December 3rd, 2022.
Oh, so very recent.
Very recent. The idea is to spread awareness in hopes that someone has information that can help solve the case and find Gretchen Fleming.
Absolutely.
So while I'm sure this is probably very big news in West Virginia specifically, I wouldn't say it's national news.
Right. So, unfortunately.
Right. Her story is featured on an episode of Disappeared.
Oh.
On Investigation Discovery. It's where I got a lot of this.
Wow. Okay.
Which is nice because I feel like I got a lot more information about her and more details about the investigation that you don't really see until after it's all over.
Right.
And so it is on there. You can watch it on HBO Max. Season 11, episode 8 is what it is. So I got a lot from there and then a lot from Facebook.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, I know there's a lot of bad things about social media, but
sometimes it can be very helpful.
It can be. So Parkersburg, West Virginia is a city in Wood County and the hometown of 28-year-old Gretchen Fleming. Parkersburg is a tight-knit community where nobody locks their doors.
See, I don't get that.
Yeah, neither do I.
Like, I understand, like, it being a very safe community, but still lock them. Not victim blaming at all.
No,
I'm
no.
just saying things can happen. Like, my coworker, his house was broken into because he was one of those people who just didn't lock his doors.
Yeah, and certain places, I feel that way. In college, I will say, there hardly anybody ever locked their door, except for, like, at night.
Well, yeah, at night I always would. But, I mean, I get it in college, but, like,
Yeah.
still, just normally, like, the only time our door is unlocked is when I'm walking out of it.
Yeah, I will say that, well, it's a little different because mine, you have to go into a building. So I feel a little bit better about not locking it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I will leave it unlocked just to go, if I'm just going to go walk the dog real quick.
Oh, yeah, nope.
and
I
then
bring
come
my
back.
keys with me, lock it up.
So, but like I said, mine's in a building.
Yeah.
So, and there's like 10 people that live in the building. So,
But still, I remember that one time I saw that man. I was waiting for you to come get me, and he opened it lightly and felt that it was locked, and then he just ripped it open and walked right in. And I was like,
well, there are men that live in that building. My building.
It was just scary because he didn't use a key to unlock it. He just ripped it open.
As someone who has to frequently use that door, I understand his frustration.
But still,
especially if you're like kind of frustrated and you're not really paying attention, and you put the key in and you turn it, and then you unturn it before you open the door. And so then it's still locked. It's like when your purse gets stuck on the doorknob.
When everything gets stuck on things just when you're mad.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen when you're in a good mood. Only when you're in a bad mood.
Yeah. Or like, especially too, if I'm coming in, sometimes if I accidentally touch the pad, it'll lock. And so I'm like trying to unlock it so I can close the door because it won't close if the lock is sticking. I need to move. So this place is not like that. This place is a tight-knit community. Growing up, Gretchen was involved in sports, in church, and other various after-school activities. Her parents split up when she was young, and she was very close with her dad. The two were inseparable and did almost everything together. Gretchen wasn't really close with her mom and never really had a relationship with her. When she was 14, her dad met and married her stepmom, Jennifer. Jennifer had I keep wanting to say two twins, but they're just twins.
It's one set of twins.
Exactly. Jennifer had
one twin,
which feels like an oxymoron. Jennifer had twin 3-year-old babies of her own, and later on had a child with Gretchen's dad. Gretchen having a sister of her own, but 5 kids in a very small house.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yours, mine, and ours. The family was close, and Gretchen had a good life growing up in Parkersburg. After graduating high school, Gretchen wanted to move to a bigger city and found herself in Raleigh, North Carolina. Gretchen wasn't really sure what she wanted to do with her life just yet and was enjoying being young. She held down various jobs to pay the bills, but wasn't very career-oriented at the time. She was a free spirit and didn't worry too much about the future. She knew she would figure it out along the way. Not long after she moved there, Gretchen met a boy and followed him to his hometown of Charleston. And I'm assuming it's Charleston, West Virginia. I realized...
Races and sluts.
Yeah, right. I realized when watching this, because I was like, Charleston, where? There's so many Charlestons. And I'm like, well, I guess it's the same way that sometimes when I tell the time, I assume the person knows the hour. And so I'll say like at the 50.
When have you ever said that?
It's usually at work.
Oh.
When I have to tell somebody the time.
Oh.
Or like when we're going to finish something. Like, okay, when we're at this, you know, my coworkers always made fun of me for it. And I'm like, well, I assume you know the hour because we're talking within. And so I was like, I wonder if that's the same kind of thing of they're from West Virginia, they're in West Virginia, so it's probably safe to assume that it's Charleston, West Virginia.
Yeah.
Although I really thought it was Charlestown.
Charlestown. I don't know. That's a good question.
She followed him and moved into his hometown, wherever the hell that is.
Sounds good.
So they dated for about a year or so, and even after talks of marriage, the two split up. Her parents didn't really know why it didn't work out between them, but Gretchen was devastated nonetheless. And not long after, maybe before, I wasn't really sure because when watching the episode, they clearly did not edit things in order.
Okay.
I was like, this was definitely talked about earlier when it should have been. But then I was also like, oh my God, if it was before and
But what?
Oh, her mom suddenly passed away.
Oh.
And since Gretchen was her only family, she had to be the one to make the difficult decision to take her mom off life support.
Oh.
I'm like, oh my God, did this happen before and they broke up?
Just so funny you kept going. I didn't know if it happened before or after, because if it was before, then I was like, what event?
I'm like, I know it happened before she went missing.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes.
But I don't know at what part
of the relationship.
Yeah. Regardless, I'm pretty sure it happened around the same time, whether it was
Okay.
before or after.
All right.
But she was feeling very lost and not in the best place, so Gretchen decided it would be best to move back home.
And where was home again?
Parkersburg.
Okay.
It's the third largest metropolitan city.
Wow.
Right, which is why I was like, small town. I don't think so.
Yeah, no.
Not small. But the city itself was within a larger county. So.
Oh, okay.
West Virginia's not that big either.
No, it's actually really not.
So, she didn't stay long with her parents before deciding it would be better to live with her grandparents. She was 27 and she did not want to deal with the chaos of her family home with all the young children running around.
Oh, her dad and stepmom.
Yes.
Okay, because you're like, live with her parents. And I was like, wait.
Yeah, so she went back to live with her dad and stepmom.
Gotcha.
Her younger sister, that's her biological sister, is in college at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So she's not home.
Oh.
And then there's the two twin boys.
The one twin.
The one twin. I think I can't remember if they're boys or girls, which is why I only said twin, because I don't remember what you said. But there's the twins and then the one more.
Okay.
And they're all like teenager age or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Kind of a pain.
And even the stepmom in the episode was like, I wouldn't want to be there when I was 27 either. So Gretchen got a job at a department store in town and was working on getting her life back on track. She didn't have a driver's license, but didn't mind taking Ubers or getting rides from friends. Most of her high school friends had moved out of town, so she had to start over a bit, but was managing to make plenty of new friends.
Good for her. Making new friends is hard.
Especially as an adult.
Yeah.
Her grandparents had a rule that she had to be home by 10, or the door would be locked and she would have to stay with friends.
How old was she again?
27.
Oh my God.
I didn't understand why she didn't have a key. But I guess if things are always left unlocked.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
This rule anyway, so it's fine. Gretchen would often couch surf between friends, especially on weekends, and she always carried a bag with her that had like all of her stuff in it. That way she would have what she needed if she wasn't going to be home for a few days.
Makes sense. Like a go bag.
Exactly. So the weekend after Thanksgiving, her grandparents weren't surprised when Gretchen decided not to come home Saturday night after work. On December 5th, Gretchen's dad, David Fleming, had just got back into town from a work trip, and he texted Gretchen saying that he was back and seeing if she wanted to get together sometime that week. Gretchen normally responds to her dad quickly or responds as soon as she can, but she usually gives an explanation like her phone was dead or something like that.
Right.
So he definitely found it odd when he hadn't heard back from her. On December 11th, her grandparents went over to her parents' house saying that they had not heard from Gretchen in over a week.
Oh.
Or had seen her.
But like, did they not reach out at all in that week?
We're going to get there.
Okay.
We're going to go through that timeline.
Okay.
Yeah. Her grandparents said that Gretchen had told them she wouldn't be coming home after work on Saturday, December 3rd.
Okay.
A couple of days went by, but they weren't worried since it wasn't unusual for Gretchen to be gone for a couple days at a time.
Right.
On Thursday, when they still hadn't heard from her, they tried calling, texting, no answer.
Okay.
No answer on Friday either, and then same again on Saturday. So on Sunday, they decided to go to her parents' house.
Gotcha.
Her parents tried calling and texting, but it went straight to voicemail, meaning that at this point, her phone was dead.
Right.
Gretchen's dad, Mr. Fleming, immediately started to panic. So him and his wife decided to go out and look for her. They went to a bar that they knew Gretchen frequented called the Front Row. That's a lot of F's and R's.
F's.
F's
A lot of
and
F's and R's.
Sounded like the toilet running. You better go country.
Sometimes the toilet will do that when I'm like in the bathroom just getting ready, and it scares the shit out of me every time. It does. But I'm like, like, and it's always early in the morning when I'm trying to be
I was
quiet.
going to say, like, you're already trying to be quiet. You're sleepy.
I'm listening to some podcast.
Yeah.
And so, because I don't like how quiet it is if I don't have a podcast on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it freaks me out.
So you know how it's kind of been that weird hot cold?
Yes.
So last night I was like, well, I'm going to turn off everything,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that it's going to get cold.
Mm-hmm.
So like at 2 a.m, I can set it so that my heat comes back on.
Oh, you can set that?
Mhm.
Oh, that's nice.
But I always forget that like it's automatic for the fan to just be on auto versus on.
I have to turn it on to on every time.
Me too. So this morning when I got up and I walked out into my living room about to take the dog out, I was like, it's too fucking quiet in here.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, the fan's not on. I immediately went on to my phone, turned it back on. I was like, oh, so much better. Okay. They asked the bartender if she had seen Gretchen and showed her a picture. The bartender remembers seeing her last weekend and remembers that she left with a man. She also tells them, quote, matter of fact, one of her friends dropped her purse off here. When Mr. Fleming looked inside the purse, he saw her phone, ID, credit cards, and a lot of other things that Gretchen usually carried with her at all times.
Oh, that's not good.
He had a horrible suspicion that something bad happened to his daughter.
So, what, a friend found the purse?
We'll get there.
Okay.
It all's going to sound really sus, and then it, like, is not so sus anymore.
Okay.
And then you're like, okay, yeah, that guy definitely sounds like he did it.
Okay.
So, you go a little bit of a roller coaster, so bear with me.
Okay.
The Flemings ran into some of Gretchen's friends, and they also confirmed that they had gone to the front row that last Saturday. And they also confirmed that Gretchen had left the front row with a guy and headed to My Way Lounge for karaoke.
Oh, fun.
I knew you'd think that was fun.
I freaking love karaoke.
Yeah. Gretchen's parents went to the lounge and spoke to the karaoke DJ who had also been there the previous weekend. And he confirmed that Gretchen had been there last weekend and that the guy from the previous bar, whose name was John, had driven them to My Way Lounge.
Okay.
Her parents didn't know who this John person was, but they decided to go home and check her phone. After charging her phone and iPad, they went through messages, pictures, all that, for any clues as to where she might be or what happened to her. All they could find was that the last message she sent was on December 3rd.
Okay.
Her parents knew it wasn't normal for her not to have her purse with her and were filled with dread at the possibilities of what may have happened to her. So
Seriously.
on Monday, the 12th, they filed a missing persons report with the police. Detective James Zimmerman took the case and was also immediately concerned given the amount of time that Gretchen had been gone and the fact that no one had heard from her.
Right.
From the beginning, it was all hands on deck. The authorities called all the local hospitals, shelters, and checked her social media. They also checked their system to see if she had any contact with any of their officers. The department shared the picture on their Facebook page, and within 24 hours, the post was shared over 1,000 times.
Dang.
Yeah. Police canvassed the area that Gretchen was last seen, and witnesses confirmed that she went to the front row and left with a guy named John.
Okay.
When John sees Gretchen's photo shared on social media, he immediately goes and talks to the police.
Okay. That's good.
Mm-hmm. He told them that he did drive Gretchen and himself to the My Way Lounge from the front row, and that she had left her purse in his car and she didn't bring it into the bar with her. Later on in the evening, he couldn't find her and even went around town looking for her.
Oh, so they go to the bar together and then she just leaves?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
He drove back to My Way to see if maybe she had returned, and when he learned that she didn't, he went home and returned her purse to the front row the next day.
Okay.
His thinking was that since he didn't know where she lived, and, you know, kudos to him for not taking through her purse.
And also she doesn't have an ID.
I think she has those IDs.
Oh, like a walker's permit?
It's like, it's just like an identification card.
Right.
I think she might have one of those.
Okay, because yeah, there's the driver's license.
Yeah.
And then I think there's like, it's like a walker's permit or a walker, like something like that where you don't have a car, but you still need a form of identification.
There's one here a friend of mine had in college, and it just like at the top, it was green instead of purple, and it just said identification card.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, you know, for people who don't have a license.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I would have still dug through it. Like, I think I would have gone into
I
the
think
purse.
as a girl, I would have felt more inclined to. But
That's
I
a
could
good
understand how, as a man, he might not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a very good point.
So, since he didn't know where she lived, he figured she would go back to the bar looking for her purse. So, according to Gretchen's parents, they had also spoken with John, and they believed that his story was true. John apparently felt really terrible for what happened and felt even slightly responsible since he was the one who was going to drive her home.
Aw.
Sounded like he was really torn up about this.
Right.
So the owners of the My Way Lounge actually reached out to Gretchen's parents on social media and told them that they had security cameras and asked if they would like to come in and see the footage from that night.
Wow. Everyone is like, it's so different from some cases we hear.
Yes.
You know, like some cases are like, yeah, we have footage, but like, we're not going to let you see it. It's like they're reaching out like, we have footage, come look at it.
Yes. The community, one of the big things that they drove home a lot was like how much the community has come together and how much it's meant to them. I mean, this is how we've heard about this story because someone within that community
reached out to us.
So it's definitely, when I say tight knit, I'm not saying that just for the story.
Right.
Like it's true.
Oh, as much as I hate that something like this is like how we know it's so tight knit, that is awesome that it is like that.
Absolutely. So obviously her parents are going to say yes and go watch it.
Duh.
Which when I was watching this episode, I was like, that's amazing that you had access to that.
Mm-hmm.
Because normally this is something that you don't hear about until after the case is closed and they can tell us.
Right.
So the fact that the parents saw it,
yep,
they of course can tell us if they want to.
Right.
And they do. So they see Gretchen sitting at the end of the bar by herself, and John is only a couple seats away, but he's talking to some other people. A different man comes out of what's called the gambling room and stands beside Gretchen. They start talking, and the man buys Gretchen a drink. They go back into the gambling room together for about 45 minutes before coming back out and leaving the bar together.
Wait, sorry. Gretchen and this guy?
New guy.
Okay. So she comes with one guy.
Leaves
meets
with another.
Okay.
While they had been in the gambling room, John had gone to the bathroom. So when Gretchen had come out of the gambling room, John was in the bathroom and did not see her leave with the other guy.
Oh.
And in the video, they can also see this man's car driving away shortly after him and Gretchen left.
And can they see them getting into the car, or they can just see the car driving away?
I think they can just see the car driving away. But
Okay.
they do see them walk out together.
Right. So it's assumed.
It's assumed, yeah. Well, because the owners and bartenders were able to ID the man that Gretchen left with as Preston Pierce. Her parents had never heard the name, and the workers at My Way said that he had been there a couple times, but he wasn't a regular.
Mm-hmm.
The police did find Preston and questioned him on December 13th.
This is like the only case I've ever heard of where it's like, here's a suspect, let's go talk to him immediately. Here's this, let's follow up on it immediately.
I bet you will never guess what their race is.
Okay.
I thought the same thing. I was like, damn, imagine if you put this kind of effort into other shit. You are capable of doing your job.
Right.
Crazy.
For us to not want to be like, asshole, why are you not doing this?
Right. And I don't know. Her parents were very adamant about the fact that they felt the police were doing a lot of work. But a lot of what they said in the episode was, you know, we're hoping that the public sees this and knows that the police are doing everything that they can. And a lot of the comments that I read on the Facebook page were the complete opposite of that. They didn't feel like enough was being done.
At least up to this point, it sounds like a lot has been done.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I realized when I went back onto the Facebook page, and from what I first got from the friend who sent it to us, there was a lot of things that they kept out of that episode.
Well, yeah, that would make sense.
So he tells them that they left the My Way together, but that he had dropped her off somewhere in downtown Parkersburg. The police don't say where in the episode. They do go to the area where Gretchen was allegedly dropped off to find any witnesses, businesses with surveillance cameras that can possibly confirm if Gretchen was in the area. On the 14th, police received video footage from multiple sources and were able to reconstruct the early morning hours of December 4th. So she leaves My Way with Pierce, and they can see the headlights of his car.
What time is this at?
I think the bar was almost closing. They didn't say a time, but I know it was like late early from what they said. Then they head down an alleyway towards 6th Street, and they have footage from a nearby gas station. It's a Sheetz. And they can,
I love a Sheetz.
Yeah. And they can see his car driving down Ann Street.
Okay.
And it's headed in the direction of Southside Parkersburg. They don't see that Gretchen has stopped anywhere, or the vehicle was stopped and she got out, or any of her walking anywhere. There was nothing of that, only of his car.
Right.
And they do believe that the videos that they saw, his car was driving in the direction of his house.
His house. Okay.
Because Pierce's statement didn't match with what Detective Zimmerman saw in the video, they were able to obtain a search warrant for Pierce's home, car, and storage unit.
Ooh.
It was weird because, like, most people just say, we got a search warrant. He, like, went step by step through what they did to get the warrant, which is, I don't know, just felt like, you know, when someone's telling you too many details.
Yeah. So you mean the cop was going too much into it? Yeah, like the detective, he was like, that's when I decided to go to this county prosecutor, and then we brought it to this circuit judge, and they signed it, and then we had and I was like, you could have just said, we got a warrant. Maybe he's trying to do it to show, like, look at all the work we did. Because if there are people who are now saying, like, oh, they didn't do enough work, this could be...
That was really the big thing driven home. And even her dad posted on the Facebook page saying, like, hopefully this will, like, let the community see that they really are doing a lot of work.
Which, yeah, so it makes it sound like he's saying, look at all the things I did, look at all the work that I'm putting in.
Yeah. That's exactly the vibe I got.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was weird.
And so, but we don't know for 100% fact that she's in the car at this point.
Correct.
Okay.
At least from what they've said. They've only seen the car.
Right.
But they have not seen her outside of the car or anything like that.
Right.
So they executed the search warrants, collected everything and anything, and they were really hoping to find that something to put Gretchen inside of either his vehicle or his home.
Yep.
They sent it to the police lab. However, no body has been found. If they found anything from his house, they have not released that to the public.
And I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's not going to be released yet because it's
ongoing.
Exactly.
100%. So Gretchen's stepmom, bless her heart, she decides to go on a little investigation of her own.
Oh, Yes.
So we find out a whole bunch of shit about Preston Pierce. So she goes onto social media, finds him, which honestly, God bless social media.
Mm-hmm.
So she finds out that he's a food delivery guy. And from what it sounds like, it's not for like, like a pizza place. Like it's more like a DoorDash or Uber Eats type of thing.
Okay.
And then once his name was out there, posts, comments came flooding in about how icky this dude is.
Oh.
And she could not find a positive thing about him.
Wow.
Some women were saying that he creeped them out and would stalk them. He would get their phone number from delivering their food and then start texting them like inappropriate remarks.
No.
Mm-hmm. And then apparently a close friend of the family had stopped ordering food because of how often he would text her inappropriately after delivering her food.
Oh my gosh.
The stepmom's mom went shopping at one of the local stores, and the girls who worked there said that they had to stop getting food delivered because he would come into the store and be icky and text them icky things.
How is he not fired?
Because he's a white man
Mm.
in West Virginia. And also, apparently, a friend of a friend was out at a bar with him one night and supposedly woke up the next morning in his house with no clue how she got there or what happened.
Oh.
And Gretchen's stepmom like encouraged her to tell police her story. And even detectives said that after like news broke of them searching his house, like a lot of people called the tip line of just gross things about him.
Jeez.
So apparently he has multiple complaints for stalking and complaints for pursuing underage minors.
Good.
So this is where shit gets weird. Because something that I think was left out of the episode, which is kind of a big deal,
Okay.
is that he's like changed his name a bunch of times and he used to be a cop.
So is his birth name Preston Pierce?
I don't think so.
Oh, so this is a new name.
Right. So this is where it gets a little twisted.
How old is he?
Old.
So like much older than she was?
From the pictures that I've seen, yeah.
Because if he was already a cop, like that's a career change, you know?
Well, so he's okay. Here, this is what our friend said. She did a lot more stalking for me, so she summarized it nicely. So this is all we know about the man who is the prime suspect. Daryl Lott changed his name to Preston Pierce after he kept moving around and getting in trouble for things. He was a former police officer from various departments and has gotten fired from a few jobs he's had. He was the last man seen with Gretchen. He did not drop her off at the Parkersburg police station. Multiple people have stated their run-ins with him and him being a complete creep and following people. They acquired a search warrant on his home and property. Crime lab resources tested things, et cetera, et cetera. Everyone knows he did something. He has had so many harassment complaints against him at every job he ever worked at, but yet no charges have ever been brought against him. There's one post that somebody put together of his reviews of restaurant around town, and all of them are nothing but a compilation of compliments of how attractive the waitresses are and has nothing to do with the restaurant or food, which I will read to you now.
So these are his comments on restaurants.
So he left like Google reviews, and sure enough, I'm not going to read all of them, but just enough so you get the gist.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Okay, so this one was from 2 years ago at Bob's Lunch. Food was amazing and staff was very friendly, in parentheses. Danny and April or Amy, don't remember her name, but she's gorgeous and looks like an actress, Jennifer Gardner. 5 stars from me. Your typical, he went to Wendy's. Typical Wendy's food, which who the fuck comments on Wendy's?
Right.
Your typical Wendy's food was clean, service was quick, and the staff was friendly, and every female that worked there that day was gorgeous, especially that one that had her baby there.
Ew.
At a Dunkin', store was very clean. The donuts were a bit dry, but in their defense, we did stop in after 8 p.m. They were still very tasty. Service was good. Peyton was just as friendly as she was pretty. We'll return again, but earlier in the day. Thanks, Peyton. The salsa is the best around, and the best reason to return is Maria, winky face.
It's like a lot of these comments could be fine, like reviews, but then you bring in the creep factor.
Today I was waited on by Katie, and she is absolutely gorgeous with a beautiful personality and friendly smile.
See, you could put, I was waited on by Katie. She was an incredible waitress.
Yep.
Service was great. You know? Like, that's how you make it a not creepy comment.
Yep. You don't have to comment on her looks to say that she was good at her job.
Right.
So, yeah, that's all in there. And on the Facebook page, on one of the featured posts, it shows a whole compilation of different people. So this is from 2017, and it looks like one of those posts from like, you know, like Facebook Marketplace.
Mhm.
It's like that, but it's for a yard sale, not necessarily for Facebook Marketplace.
And he's the one posting it?
No, somebody else did about him.
Oh, okay.
And it says, warning, do not buy, sell, trade anything with this man. His real name is Daryl Lott. He will agree on a price and then tell you can pay him the rest of what he is asking for the item later. Then he will want to meet with you ladies without your husband. And when you decline, will blast you on Facebook. You will block him and he will obsess about you for 2 years and then blast you again. It's definitely not worth whatever you are buying.
Ooh.
Someone sent in a message saying this guy stalked me when I worked in Parkersburg about 5 years ago. Then I worked with him in a nursing home and the women there got very upset and they would not let him touch them.
Oh my gosh.
He is a Spark driver and has hit on me while pregnant, stating I look good for being pregnant, but had to mention first not to sound creepy. I tried to be nice because I'm working, but I got weird vibes from him. This guy is always at the corral every Tuesday for pool. He would text very disturbing images of ropes and stuff. He would try to get me to come to his place and stuff. Very sad. I hope this young girl is found safe. I used to work with him and he hit on my underage coworker and knew she was underage. He followed me and my friend home from front row to my way to my home without knowledge. Thankfully, my friend was very alert and noticed he followed us, and my boyfriend was told and came outside and confronted him. Police were called. But yeah, so creepy ass dude.
Yeah.
So then this person commented and said, apparently it's in the family. And they said a former Ritt County man wanted on dozens of sex crime charges was picked up Wednesday morning in Georgia. The U.S. Marshal's Office in Charleston says Harley D. Lott Sr. was arrested in Walton County, Georgia at an auto stop where he had been working. They say Lott faces 39 counts of incest, 4 counts of sexual abuse by a parent, guardian, custodian, and 3 counts of third-degree sexual assault. Disgusting.
Oh.
U.S. Marshals say that they got a tip last summer that led them to Lott's location. The U.S. Marshals Southeast Regional Fugitive Task Force worked with Wirt County Sheriff's Office to catch Lott. He will be extradited to West Virginia. His, I believe, brother Harlan Dobb Lott, I'm not sure, but I think his brother was also involved in something else too.
Jeez.
And so one of the things that someone mentioned of like, where was all that on the episode?
Yeah.
Because as far as I know, this was figured out before it aired. I don't know
what was figured out?
His real identity.
Oh.
Because that was one of the things she mentioned to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember as I was watching the episode, it didn't say anything about that, like his alternative identity or like his actual name.
Which I feel like is an important thing.
I thought was really fucking weird.
Like, why would you change your name?
Right. And then I thought I was maybe misremembering what I had read earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I went back and was trying to scour through the Facebook page, someone else had mentioned that. I was like, okay, yeah, that was weird. Like,
it is.
It's very, and she's really pretty.
Yeah, she is really pretty.
Yeah. She's our age. She's 28.
Yeah.
So not good things. Not good things.
Mm-mm.
So as of February of 2023, so the following year, they did put together a community search around Mountwood Park, which is really close to Preston's home. It's huge. It's like a big park.
Mm-hmm.
500 people showed up.
Wow.
And they were able to cover a lot of ground. The community really came together and really wanted to help the Flemings. And Mr. Fleming was very touched by the support they received from the community. And it kind of started to restore his faith in humanity a little bit.
Aww.
Unfortunately, nothing was found in the search.
Mm-hmm.
Detective Zimmerman still contacts agencies if he hears about a body being found, just in case.
Right.
As of June 2023, no arrests have been made, but it is still a very active investigation. They want to make sure you know that. Gretchen's parents trust law enforcement and feel that they are doing everything that they can to find their daughter. Her parents strongly believe that Preston Pierce is responsible for their daughter being missing, and police say he is still a person of interest, but no charges have been filed. They believe that he has more information about where she is and what happened to her, but he stopped cooperating with the police. Gretchen's family, community, and law enforcement is asking that anyone with any information to please come forward. They are offering a $100,000 reward for any information that can help bring their daughter home. Apparently that was raised by like small businesses in the area.
Aww.
So very awesome community that they
Yeah.
have. But no individuals have been charged with any crimes related to her disappearance, according to the TV. And the TV also said that Preston and his lawyer did not respond for requests for an interview. So you can contact Dr. Jesus. You can contact Detective Zimmerman at 304-424-1072. And we'll obviously put that in the show notes. And I'll also put a link to the Facebook page because there are people on here who have done a whole hell of a lot more work than I did and are good about kind of keeping things up to date and, keeping people talking about her. And so you can definitely find out a lot more information. She's a teeny tiny little girl, 5'1".
And just short, I know.
You're taller than her.
I know.
Which is saying something.
Shocking.
Yeah. So that is the story of Gretchen Fleming.
Ugh. Well, good job covering that.
Thanks.
Hopefully, as we like to do, this does bring awareness.
Yes. And everyone deserves to have this much attention on their case. No one is any less deserving than the next person.
Absolutely.
But it is definitely something to be said and should be acknowledged, the fact that this does not happen for people who are not white.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're clearly capable.
There has never once been a case of a minority where we were like, damn, the police are doing their job.
Yeah, right. Exactly. This should just prove to you that they are capable of doing their job.
Right.
It's just whether or not they choose to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but yeah, we hope Gretchen is found or that we at least get updates. If you have any updates, anything, literally anything can be that one little clue that is needed to tie something together.
Absolutely. And I'll keep an eye on this. And I told our friend to let me know if there are updates at any point in time.
Right.
And if we know, you'll know. Like I said, this is very recent. It's ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed important because this
yeah.
person who listens to us wanted it to have attention. So it's the least I could do. If you know someone in your town and their case is not getting enough attention or you don't think they are, reach out to us.
We have a platform and we want to use it.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter day or night.
Yeah.
Although we'll only respond during the daytime. But
Lauren goes to bed at 9:30 p.m.
Right. It's always me.
Yes, it's always Mackenzie.
You're always talking to me. So, anything we can do to help out, even if it's not enough where we can do a whole segment on it, if it's just, hey guys, be aware of this, we're happy to do that too.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, good job covering this. I think you did a great job getting the case out, getting the details.
There's something to be said. I know we try to make it so that they're less well known. And I'm sure in West Virginia, everyone's heard about this story. If you haven't, weird.
But everyone else in the country probably hasn't heard about it.
Yes. Honestly, sometimes I like getting the information from the TV show side because you actually hear it straight from the police. And it's not secondhand in a newspaper. And you're like, did they do that? Because this newspaper said that they didn't do that.
Right. Or they told The Guardian, who told this person, who now we're reporting on this.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah.
Well, nicely done.
Thank you. Oh! Sorry.
You would think we do this every week or something.
I know, but it's harder when I go second.
Right. Because you had the laptop closed.
Right. And when you do that, I think I'm supposed to introduce again. Why is she doing that? We already did the intro. Okay. Tell me about that place, nutcase.
Ooh, that works because it is a place.
That's why I saved that one
Amazing.
for a place. Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm going to give a little trigger warning. If you're afraid of amusement parks or roller coasters, this might not be the best episode for you. You're fine.
I'm just trying to imagine. You mean going on them?
If you're afraid of roller coaster rides, if the fact that they could kill you scare you.
No, I just get dizzy, so I can't go on them anymore. But I loved them.
So this won't apply to you for the scared factor, but...
Well, and that's why I was like trying to figure out, because I was like, I don't not like them because I'm scared of them.
Right.
I'm scared I'm going to get dizzy like I did the last time I was on one.
So this is for those who are afraid of the actual roller coaster, not the effects of a dizziness spell.
But they're so fun. They're over in 2 seconds.
Sometimes. Sometimes they're the last thing you ever do.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. Okay, so today I will be telling you about, quote, one of the world's most haunted places, as always, the abandoned Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. The Lake Shawnee Amusement Park is located in Princeton, West Virginia in Mercer County. In the early 1920s, an entrepreneur...
Did you decide that you were going to read it like that?
Every time I see that word, I just want to say entrepreneur. So one of those
French.
One of those guys named Conley T. Snidow. I know. So he purchased a piece of property, a grassy field, that he thought would be perfect for an amusement park. And in 1926, the amusement park opened to the public and operated for 62 years before it closed its gates in 1988.
That's not bad.
No. But what Snow didn't know at the time was that the land he had purchased had been the spot of a gruesome massacre and was all too familiar with death.
Uh-oh.
So in the late 1700s, Mitchell Clay and his wife Phoebe brought their family out west, where he bought land and established an 800-acre farm.
Damn.
Here he raised his 14 children.
You got the space.
14 children.
They had those children because they needed help on the farm. They solely had those kids for workers,
Probably.
not to care for children.
Oh, we need someone to take care of the sheep. Let's do another one.
That's why child labor laws didn't come in until the 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s, I believe.
Oh, yeah, we're in the 1700s here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kids were born to work.
Ugh. So the Clay family was the first family of colonizers to be settling this area. What they didn't know, though, was that the area had previously been settled by the Shawnee Indians, who fished in the nearby river and grew corn in the valley. So, as we know, it was their land first. They were the first ones on there, not these new settlers coming in.
Right, no.
But tragedy struck in August of 1783 when Clay was out hunting. While he was out, he had asked his two sons, Bartley and Ezekiel, to continue building fence pens around the grain stacks. The daughters were down by the riverbank washing and putting out the family's clothes. A group of 11 Shawnee Indian tribe members crept to the edge of the field and shot one of Clay's sons, Bartley, killing him instantly. The gunshot alerted the daughters, who then made a beeline back to the safety of their house. But the way back to the house meant that they would have to pass right by where Bartley was laying. And at this time, one of the tribe members was getting ready to scalp Bartley when his sister Tabitha tried to come over and save his body. In the struggle, Tabitha reached for a knife which hung on the member's belt, and she missed, and in that moment she was killed and dismembered. But at the time all of this was happening, a man named Lincoln Blankenship called the Clay Cabin.
Fucking names.
Oh yeah, we're like
Lincoln Blankenship.
we're in like the 1700s. So it says he called the cabin. Obviously, there aren't phones at this time. So what I think this means was that he went over there to the Clay's cabin to like ask him what was going on. That's what I think.
They used to say things like when I was doing the main one and I was reading stuff from that time, it was like when my girlfriends would call me, meaning not actually call me.
Right.
But they were over there like, oh, we want to see blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was like, phones definitely weren't around.
Like
at this
calling
time.
as in like, I'm calling your name.
Yeah. So I think it was something like that. So at the time that he is calling the Clay cabin is the time that Tabitha was in her death struggle. So Miss Clay begged Blankenship to come kill the man that was trying to kill her daughter. But Blankenship ran away from the scene to another group of settlers.
Bitch.
And reported that the entire Clay family had been murdered by Indians. Bartley and Tabitha were scalped, and 16-year-old Ezekiel was captured. Miss Clay brought the bodies of Bartley and Tabitha inside of the house and laid them on the bed. She then took the remaining 6 children. I don't know where the other, 1,900 of them were. So she takes 6 of the children to a home of the neighbors where they could be safe. Mr. Clay returned home to find 2 of his children dead and the rest of his family missing, so he immediately thought his entire family had been killed. He left his cabin and headed to the settlements along the New River, the ones that Blankenship had gone to with his news. And Clay wanted to get revenge, so a party of men, under the leadership of Captain Matthew Farley, went back to the Clay cabin to first bury the 2 children.
We're men. We can do anything.
What is that from?
The SpongeBob movie.
We were talking at work the other day and we're like, there were a couple SpongeBob references and someone was like, how does that have, it works for every situation
because
in
it's been
life.
around since 1999.
Yep. So it's always there.
So eventually you're going to have enough,
Yeah.
enough material.
That happened. I can relate to it. So the men then tracked down the tribe members who were responsible, killing most of them, though a few did escape. Those who escaped went to Chillicothe, Ohio, where they proceeded to burn Ezekiel at the stake. So the land was marked by the gruesome murders of both the new settlers and the Native Americans who had already been living there.
People who are so gung-ho about the Second Amendment and being able to protect your property, very choosy.
So now back to the park. So we're back in 1926 when C.T. Snidow purchased the property. He wanted to build an amusement park on the land, which would cater to the many coal miners and their families who lived in the area. The amusement park's big attractions were the Ferris wheel and the swing ride, but it also featured a swimming pool/lake, water slide, racetrack, concession stands, a dance hall, a speakeasy, and cabins for those who wanted to stay the night.
Wow.
And it was a very popular park, especially for the local families, so the cabins were, a needed thing. By the 1950s, the park had one of the state's largest concrete swimming pools, but it had also expanded to include hiking trails, a golf driving range, a shooting gallery, and now had 16 cottages and cabins.
Damn.
Yes.
It was like a campground.
Yeah. Yeah, a campground with like a little Ferris wheel and stuff.
Yeah.
But eventually, a few deaths could be attributed to the park. 2 drowning deaths were reported. One occurred on July 3rd, 1966. An 11-year-old boy was swimming when his arm was sucked down into a drain.
My biggest fear.
Oh my God, there was that one story once a long time ago when we were younger. Some kid was in a hot tub and their hair got sucked down the thing.
And they drowned.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
So I would never go underwater in a hot tub because that story scared me so badly. Or I was like, we need scissors. Something. It was scary. Another little boy, believed to be around 9, had been dropped off at the park by his mother. When she returned later to pick him up, she wasn't able to find him. She searched the entire park until she eventually found him floating in the pool dead. The pool was later filled with sand to prevent further accidents like this from occurring.
Just watch your fucking kids.
Well, yeah. It's like a huge swimming pool lake type of thing. And one video I watched said there was only 1 lifeguard for like this whole thing. Like you could easily have like 5 or 6 lifeguards.
So definitely not user error, but maker error.
Right. Just not enough safety precautions.
Yeah.
Very much not enough safety precautions. So also in 1966, a young girl died while on the swing ride. So rumors say that she was on the swing ride. I don't think it would have been spinning, but a truck delivering sodas accidentally backed into the ride, striking the young girl. Which is why I think it had to have been stopped or something, because otherwise everyone would have hit it.
How do you miss that there's a fucking giant swing behind you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Stupid.
This one didn't have much more information, but a 3-year-old was crushed by a lift.
Oh.
Uh-huh. In 1934, a young woman was shot and killed right on the outskirts of the park by a scorned lover. So roughly 6 visitors had died while at or near the park. Though some of these deaths haven't actually been verified anywhere. I tried to use some of our newspaper things.
Mm-hmm.
If you type in Lake Shawnee between the years that it was open in West Virginia, you get like 19,000 articles.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just because it pulls out the word lake and the word Shawnee. And I even tried to no. So couldn't verify them anywhere. So then just the next year, the park had to close on July 6th, 1967, after the Mercer County Health Department announced that all swimming and recreational activities at Lake Shawnee had to cease until it could comply with certain health regulations.
That checks out.
Yes. But they never decided to do anything because it remained closed for 20 years.
Well.
When, in 1985, a former employee of the park, Gaylord White, another name, purchased the land and reopened the park in the summer of 1987. He was able to keep it open and running for about a year until in 1988, he had to close after being unable to keep up with increasing insurance rates.
Yeah.
Yep. But White, being the businessman, used the park for other things instead. An entrepreneur. He opened an area for fishing tournaments and off-road motorsports. In the early 1990s, White was working on a tract of land when his crew started to uncover numerous Native American artifacts that had been buried prior to the arrival of the Anglo-European settlers, so prior to the 1600s.
Oh my God.
Yup. From there, archaeologists from Marshall University spent years at the site uncovering even more artifacts and graves. They also uncovered bones with a total of 13 Native American skeletons, like full skeletons, being found, mostly elderly people and young children. One skeleton was very, very tall, like unusually tall.
Mm-hmm.
It is believed that as many as 3,000 bodies could have been buried on these grounds. Yeah, because we weren't here first.
It's like people had a whole fucking life before we showed up.
And ruined it.
Mm-hmm. Spoiled it!
How many SpongeBob references do we have so far?
In this episode or in general?
No, this episode.
2.
It'll go up, I'm sure.
2.
Count them. 2.
Marshmallows.
3. So White had originally planned to build lots here and develop a community, so townhouses, all that. But after finding all of these artifacts and graves, he left the burial ground and rides intact and decided it would be best to not disturb the land any more than he already had.
Probably.
The first smart person to be like, I'm going to keep this here.
Right.
I'm going to go.
I'm not going to touch that.
But from there, White started hosting Halloween week guided tours, like paranormal tours on his property, and really running with this whole haunted thing.
Oh, I'm sure.
So, of course, we have hauntings. With this place gaining so much popularity, many ghost hunting groups and paranormal investigators have come to the park to try to get a peek of all the haunted reportings here. The owners are actually really cool, though, and good about letting people who they know are respectful come to the property. So Zach Baggins of Ghost Adventures wanted to come.
Of course.
But as we know, he yells at ghosts, tries to intimidate
He's
them.
fucking weird as shit.
Is very disrespectful. So the owners were like, no.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't want you to yell at our ghosts. We don't want you to be disrespectful. We don't want you to be rude. So you're not welcome. which I thought was very awesome.
Yes.
Because it seems that there are no violent spirits here, just playful ones who want to connect with humans.
I like that.
Which is why they also don't want this asshole coming and like ruining this. So visitors have reported hearing a lot of things. Footsteps are heard as well as mysterious chants and the sound of children playing. They have reported hearing the sounds of the long abandoned rides moving. Creepy carnival music has been heard. Accompanied by the smell of carnival food wafting around the area.
Oh, but that shit smells so good.
It smells so good, but just picture hearing like your creepy carnival music in the background.
Yeah, I could do without that. I'd just take the funnel cake smell.
But it would be sad because then there's no funnel cake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some visitors have actually seen one of the swings on the spinning ride moving on its own. Many people believe this is a little girl spirit still hanging around. Her swing is now marked by a red ribbon, though it seems she prefers an adjacent swing where an owl ornament hangs. On still windless days, the owl ornament is seen moving and spinning. But other times, as it's spinning or moving, it'll suddenly drop still as if a child was just no longer interested and just kind of dropped it. A visitor who was on a tour claimed that while listening to the story of the tragedy on the swing ride, she felt her hand go cold and numb, as if something was gripping it tightly. She had a small pendant with her that she ended up leaving on the swing with the red ribbon. There was no breeze, but the ribbon started to twirl and bounce. The little boy who drowned is also believed to still be here as well. He seems to prefer the front entrance of the park, an area where he can welcome new guests and keep an eye on everyone to make sure that the same accident that happened to him doesn't happen to anyone else. An old ticket booth sits near the lake and has a little white pinwheel toy attached to the side. This pinwheel is known to spin, again, even when there's no wind. A visitor once came to the park and near this pinwheel, she was asking for it to spin, to speed up, to slow down, and it did exactly what it was asked each time. So it seems to be one of the most active parts of the park. Like, this is kind of the thing that people go to. So, oh my gosh, a guy on YouTube who I enjoy, he visited the park. Okay, so I'm watching this episode one day after work. Joe and Richie are not here yet. I'm in my room, laying down, watching the episode. I have my computer next to me so I can take notes. You know, I'm comfy in bed. So he's talking about the pinwheel, Omar, and how he's going to try to get it to spin. So as I'm watching this, something catches my eye out of the corner of my eye. I look up and I shit you not, my fan spun. And I was like, it just did one spin and then it was still again. And I was like, okay, maybe I had just turned the fan off and it was like finishing its spin. No, the fan I turned off when I got home. So that was hours before. And I was like, okay, we have our vents set to auto. Maybe it turned on and it spun. Watched again when it turned on. It did not spin. And I was like, I don't like this. So of course I told Joe and he goes, oh, okay. And then I told Rich and he goes, do you think a ghost out of there came to the house because you were watching that here?
The kind of reaction we want.
I was like, thank you, Richie, for validating that it's a ghost spinning the freaking fan. Anywho, oh my gosh is at the pinwheel and was asking for it to spin and it spun on command, even though there was no wind. And they did it a couple times where it they kind of warmed up. They were like, hi, like we're here. We just want to see you spin the pinwheel. And it did as they were asking. Another person was once investigating the shabby ticket booth, the one the pinwheel is attached to, and they got locked inside.
No!
Even though the doors don't lock. But it didn't look that terrifying because it has windows, but they're open windows.
Okay.
Yeah. Because when I first read that, I was like, oh my God. And then I saw the ticket booth and I was like, that's still creepy.
Yeah.
Because, there was also a doll in the ticket booth, like a stuffed animal that was hanging from its arm or something. And one day the head's gone and they have never found the head of the toy. Apparitions are also seen and reported quite often here.
I think for the months of November to March, we can't tell scary stories.
No.
Because it's dark.
I know, it's already dark and it's only 5 o'clock.
Seasonal depression.
So Omar kept saying that he was seeing these apparitions around different parts of the park. So he would be recording one place and he would see movement out of the corner of his eye. So he would put his camera over there and there would be nothing. But he was like, I know there's a figure walking around.
Do you know the amount of times I've woken up and sure I saw something and then freaked out and then it was gone?
Yeah.
It happened to me the other night. I thought there was a giant spider on my vent. And so I jumped awake and I literally was about to jump out of my bed and run away. And when I looked back, it wasn't there. And I was like, did I dream it or was it there?
What is real life?
I was very confused.
But yeah, so Who knows if he was seeing things that were never caught in camera, but a little girl is also often seen, believed to be the little girl who died on the swing ride. She is seen wearing a pink dress. Sometimes she is even seen wearing that pink dress while covered in blood.
No!
The little boy that is believed to have drowned is often seen wearing swim trunks and being soaking wet,
I mean,
which is so sad.
mhm.
A ghost of a man is seen hanging out on the Ferris wheel in the car in the 9 o'clock position. So if you're looking at the Ferris wheel, it's like over in the 9 o'clock area. A tall man over 7 feet tall is also seen wandering around, believed to be the man who had like the tall skeleton that they found. I hate things that are tall. I don't like them. Like, people can be tall, that's fine. But like if you're unusually tall, like unnaturally tall, because there's a one scene in It Follows. If you've seen It Follows, everyone knows what I'm talking about with the tall man. And then we just finished The Haunting of Hill House, and there's a tall man in that too. And it's just creepy. It's just creepy. Don't like it.
I feel like there's so many things for you that would be so tall.
Funny. Real funny, Mackenzie. I mean, you're not wrong, but
Like you think Joe is tall.
I never said he was tall. I said he's taller than me. He's about the average height.
He's below average.
What's average?
Pretty sure it's like 5'9", 5'10".
There's no way.
Pretty sure.
5'6".
No shot. For men?
Men, it says 5'6", and women, it says 5'2". Mm-hmm.
Bullshit. Because
Nope.
I've met more women that are 5'5", 5'6" than I've ever met a man.
Yep. Nope, that's what it says. Oh, and then here's...
They obviously have not conducted too many new research because people are tall as shit. They're not a bunch of short people running around.
69 inches in feet.
That's 5 feet 9 inches.
So that's also an average.
Yeah.
So there are two different averages that we're looking at here.
5'9". That's what I said.
Well, anywho, one said 5'9", one said 5'6". What really is the average?
I think 5'6".
Is the average?
I mean 5'9". Well, because they always round up to 6 foot.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm 5'7". No, I'm actually 6 feet tall.
Yeah. Right.
So back to this.
See, you knew that I was going to be short.
So some visitors have reported seeing the Clay children running around the woods, even hearing their screams in the night. One visitor took a photograph of the stone monument that was set up for Bartley and Tabitha. In the background of the photo, he said he can clearly make out a distinct shape of a person standing there, when obviously no one was standing there. The picture was not posted, so I could not verify. Gaylord White, the owner, said that he always had a feeling that someone was behind him, sometimes touching his shoulder or his arm. He also had unexplained feelings of a presence being nearby, but his biggest experience happened one day while he was clearing the brush on his tractor. He said that he saw a full apparition of a girl in a pink dress with ruffled sleeves. He said that it was clear the little girl was interested in the tractor, so he left it on the property for her to explore and to look at. He too has heard what sounds like chanting on his property. A woman named Lizzie commented on freaked.com and said that she visited the park when she was a kid. But there was a woman in the lake who kept staring at her. The only problem? The woman didn't have eyes. ABC Network's Scariest Places on Earth came to the park. With them, they had a psychic. The psychic refused to stay on the property due to the, quote, spiritual energy being too strong. Crew members also refused to enter the property at night due to eerie feelings and the park's intense energy. Visitors are encouraged to leave an offering as a sign of respect to the Shawnee, and many people do leave a little something. Dolls and small toys are often left around the park as offerings to the spirits of children who seem to still be here, unable or unwilling to leave. So this place has been in many, many shows.
Stressed out.
To include an episode of Scariest Places on Earth, which aired in 2002.
Sounds terrifying.
Most Terrifying Places in America in 2010. Most Terrifying Places in 2019.
This sounds like an actually certifiable most scary haunted place.
Yes. Discovery Channel's Ghost Lab Season 2, which was in 2010. The Unexplained in 2019.
I fucking love that show.
I went to watch it, right? It was season 1. Netflix only or whatever thing it's on only has seasons 2 and 3.
I'll look on my Hulu because I know that season 1 is definitely on Hulu.
Yeah, nope. Tried to find it on Netflix, could not find it.
It used to be on there.
Yeah. So when I checked, it was not, and I was very disappointed. So it was also in Portals to Hell, of course, in 2021, and then Omar Garsh TV, which is the one I watched. So I know this is really short. I'm sorry. It shut down, and after it closed, that was kind of it. All of the articles repeated, as they do.
Yeah.
So I decided to go through some accidents that have occurred at other amusement parks because that is also scary and that is also very fitting. So I chose a couple because there are so many accidents that have occurred. So I could only choose a couple. So this is kind of where that trigger warning comes in. If you don't want to listen to this, like, don't. So
it's like, what is it? Final Destination with like the tanning bed?
Yes. Yeah. So the first I'm going to talk about occurred in Silver Dollar City in Missouri on July 9th, 1980. The workers who were operating the Fire in the Hole roller coaster were unaware that the ride had passengers aboard when they switched it from the main tracks to the maintenance tracks to work on it. Well, the maintenance tracks had a low-hanging door. So when the workers realized their mistake, they screamed for the riders to duck down. 23-year-old James Frederick Poley didn't react in time and hit his head hard on the hanging door. He did not survive his injuries. I know.
I have a headache.
The next accident happened in June of 2001 at the Treetop Twister in Lightwater Valley in the UK. 2 carriages on the ride somehow crashed into each other, and 20-year-old Gemma Savage lost her life due to how severe her head and spinal injuries were.
Damn.
And okay, so this is the next one. I think we have all heard of this one, at least a lot of us in the US. At the Superman Tower of Power ride at the Six Flags Kentucky in Louisville, a 16-year-old girl had her feet severed when a cord on the ride snapped and wrapped around her ankles in 2007. The ride is one of those that drops, so it drops 154 feet at 54 miles per hour. And I remember hearing about that and thinking about that anytime I saw people going on those drop zone rides.
So I have never in my entire life been on one of those.
I haven't gone on those either because I think of this story.
That's not why I don't.
Oh, that's why I don't. And also, I'm too scared of getting stuck at the top and it being too high for fire truck ladders to come get me.
Again, not all very valid reasons. Probably more valid than mine. Well, one, I don't like being up that high anyway.
Right.
But it is the startle of all startles because you just chill and then it drops you.
Yep.
And literally the purpose of it is to have that feeling.
Right. Of, I don't know when it's going to drop. Yeah. So an eyewitness.
You couldn't pay me. You could probably pay me. But I would only do it once.
Only once is enough.
Yeah.
An eyewitness said that after it happened, the girl was just sitting in her seat, completely calm from the shock.
Oh my God, what if the feet? Could you imagine?
What, Mackenzie?
If you're just minding your own business, going to an amusement park, fucking feet fall on you.
So I didn't include it, but I guess I will now. One of her feet was reattached. Like they were able to find it, reattach it, but the other one had to be amputated above the knee because they just couldn't reattach it. Okay, so this next one is eerie as well as sad. So this accident occurred in 2007 on the Mine Scrambler ride at Rhine Playland Amusement Park in Long Island, New York. 21-year-old Gabriella Garin worked on the ride operating it, but she wanted to give it a ride, so she had another employee cover for her. Well, she ended up being thrown from the car and dying.
Oh my God.
Another eerie part of this story is that back in 2004, she was working the ride when a little girl died on it.
Oh.
Yep. So it's like, yeah. In 1911, the Derby race ride opened in Massachusetts. It had twin racer cars that allowed passengers to ride in side-by-side trains and race. So we've been on ones like that before.
Yeah. On 2
separate occasions, riders were flung from the ride. In these days, though, seatbelts and support bars weren't considered a high priority.
No.
So many rides didn't have any.
Seatbelts in cars didn't come around until way later.
Right.
So
safety inspections and restrictions weren't a high priority. So that year, quite a few riders actually lost their lives on roller coasters. Thank God we have them now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I have a few personal stories.
I was going to say, I have a story of a sketchy roller coaster.
We'll go over these stories. Okay. So one of my teachers in high school, she was our chaperone when we took a class trip to Hershey Park in Pennsylvania. She would not go on any of the rides with us. And we were like, why? You're our chaperone at an amusement park. Like, why won't you go on any of the rides? So she told us when she was much, much younger, she went on a roller coaster with her 2 older brothers. Mm-hmm. So each sat on one side of her. The ride started, and they quickly realized that her seatbelt never clicked into place. So it was loose. So thank God she was between her older brothers because they had to hold her seatbelt down the entire ride. Uh-huh. Traumatizing.
Yes.
Oh, and then I read an article about this girl who went on one of those boat rides. So it swings you and then stops at the top
Also
and keeps
something
going.
I don't do.
I don't do them anymore. So some mechanical issue occurred where the ride got stuck at the top, upside down.
That's why I don't do it.
I was always scared when I was on those that the weight would be perfectly distributed on each side and then it would get stuck. But for them, they were stuck for 30 minutes. The girl who wrote the article said that she was trying so hard to keep other people calm because she, like herself, was freaking out, but everyone else was freaking out. She said people were in excruciating pain.
I imagine.
The blood was rushing to your head, which is dangerous. People were close to passing out. Some people did pass out. Finally, after 30 minutes, they were rescued. Ambulances had to come to the park to check on everyone before they were clear to leave.
Leave and never come back.
Seriously. And then our friend Jessie had a funny experience. Well, I thought it was funny. I don't think she did. So we went to Six Flags and her dad's company had like rented out the park. So it was one thing where you could get on a ride and just keep riding.
Yes, I remember hearing about this and being very upset I was not asked to go. So
she got stuck on the Superman ride, which was one we kept riding over and over. So she was finally like, guys, can we like get off? Like we've done this enough. I want to get off. We're like, yeah, fine. So we got off. Well, her seatbelt wouldn't come up. So she was stuck on it for an extra like 15 minutes as they're trying to figure out why hers won't unlock. And it was like she was the one who wanted to get off. And then I had an experience not nearly as bad as any of the ones on this list. King's Dominion. It was the Tomb Raider ride where you kind of swing a little bit and it flips you around and stuff. So I've been on this ride numerous times. Well, this one time we get on and it swings a little bit and then they were like, oh, we need to do a soft reset. Can you guys get off? So I looked at my group of friends. I said, I don't like this. Well, my friend made fun of me and he was like, just go on it. So I did. So we get back on, we clip ourselves back in, the ride starts going, but it felt different how it normally does. And like I said, I've been on this ride before. Yeah. I know this ride.
Yeah.
It like kind of brings you close to fire and water. Well, the water hit my brother's knee. The fire, you could kind of feel it really close, like closer than it should be. So the ride ends and the gate's supposed to come up, like the floor so you can get down. Well, it wouldn't come up. Our thing kept swinging and we could see the main working booth and they were like frantically flipping through this like handbook. And I'm like, oh, this doesn't sound good. And so they said like, oh, there's like a little issue. Like we just have to figure out, what's going on. So we were stuck for probably 20 minutes. And the whole time I just kept thinking the ride's going to start and our seatbelts are going to unhook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was pissed because it was one of the days the park closed early and we didn't get to go on my favorite ride at the end, which I was promised we would go on after this one.
What's your favorite ride?
It was one I wanted to end on. So it was the Dominator down at the front. Yeah. Like that very first one, your starter roller coaster. I want to like end the day on that one.
It's not exactly a starter roller coaster.
No, for your day at the park. It's a good start one to get you into like the roller coaster spirit.
I would say it's definitely better to finish with it because I think after that one, I wouldn't want to do it anymore.
But yeah, so I went on that one. I wanted to go on that one, but yeah, the park closed and we didn't have time because we were stuck on the stupid thing.
That was like the one brave thing that I could ever do in my life.
Roller coasters?
Go on a fucking roller coaster.
Until you hit your head. Not on the roller coaster, otherwise.
Yeah, the two events had nothing to do with each other. I hit my head first since I didn't play sports, didn't know I had a concussion. Went to an amusement park, went on a roller coaster, felt not good, but my sister wanted me to go on another one, and so I did. And then I felt really not good. Ugh. And like a lot of people will be like, well, that was years ago. And I was like, yeah, but how easily I get dizzy.
And also it's one of those things with being dizzy. It's like, it's so bad that you never want to do anything that could potentially trigger it.
When all of a sudden dizzy's fun until you can't stop being dizzy.
Right.
And then it's not so fun anymore. And so then I'm like, well, I'm not going to do this on purpose.
Because you can't have your eyes open to get it to go away. You can't have your eyes closed to get it to go away.
Right. Well, actually, I figured out that, I forget how I figured this out. I must have been reading something. So your inner ear and how if like that's messed up your balance. I don't know if you remember, but most of the time, at least in the very beginning, I always had to have the light on. And I realized that was because if you have an inner ear injury, which it ended up, that's what they said it was, you can't see, it makes it worse. So now that I know all this stuff later, I was like, I wish I had the foresight to look it up.
Right.
Not like we didn't have the fucking internet.
Right. Now I look up everything. Like my right eye was blurry when I was driving home today and I looked it up because I thought I was dying. It's fine. It's like, it just said like, you could be getting a headache. And I was like, okay. It's a lot better now. It's still a little blurry, but it was like to the point where like I could not see things out of my right eye. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like having a stroke.
Have you ever run into the issue though where it's like you know that what's happening to you is weird and you don't know how to write it into Google so that
Yes.
you find other people that are going through what you're going through and can tell you what it is.
What I now know are visual migraines I get very often. It would just, my vision would start glitching. Like it would look like there was like a tricolor circle in my eye that was like started as a sunspot. So I literally typed into Google, glitchy vision. It brought me right to where I needed to go. But yeah, it's like you don't know how to describe it. So you're like,
And I can't pinpoint exactly when it happens, but occasionally my eyes will do this, like, it feels like they're going side to side really fast.
oh yeah, that happens when I'm tired.
So that's why I'm like, I think it happens more so if I've been looking at something for a long time and then it'll start to happen.
Yep. Sometimes at work, if I'm really tired, it happens and I have to like get up and walk away because
I have to blink, then it stops. But
because
I can't see.
Right.
My eyes are going like this.
Yeah.
Or at least it feels like they are.
Yup. What was your scary roller coaster experience?
Well, I actually didn't find it scary. I thought it was fucking hilarious because I was a child. But like I said, I used to be brave. And I went on them all the time. Thought they were so much fucking fun.
Yeah.
I was visiting my cousins in upstate New York, which is not upstate. It's to the west, but that's okay. And it was like, you know, one of those local small amusement parks that you don't know unless you live there.
Right.
And it's got to be old. We're going on the different rides. There wasn't a lot of people there. So kind of similar. We were just able to kind of get back on.
Yeah.
We're on this one ride and I'm sitting next to my cousin and it's like a wooden ride. It doesn't go upside down and it's just a lap bar.
Yeah.
I think we were in the front. We would just get off this ride and switch spots in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were in the front and we come over this hill and him and I get like airborne a little bit.
Ooh.
And like come up and then slam back down when we go down the hill.
Yeah.
And we were like, I don't think you're supposed to do that. Granted, I was also laughing hysterically.
Oh, yeah, because at the time, anything dangerous is fun.
Is hilarious. But yeah, come up out of our seat and then back down. I was like, I don't think you're supposed to do that.
Thank God we have this lap bar.
Because if we didn't.
That's why other people in 1911 were flying out of cars.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I went on one.
Inertia.
They need to like break this ride down. It's called the Grizzly at King's Dominion.
Oh, I fucking love the Grizzly.
Love it. But it's a wooden roller coaster, just the lap bar.
Huge.
Yes. But it's old. And so we would go for Fright Night in like October and we would always, it's nighttime. So you're riding all these like really creepy rides at night. So this one was in the woods at night.
Oh, I remember that one.
We went on it once. Tons of fun. Next time we went on it, which was going to be the last one, like at the Grizzly until we moved on, we got on. It's supposed to slow down at certain spots. Well, it doesn't. It picks up speed at certain spots. And I'm like, So we go around this turn and we're flying down this like drop, which we're not supposed to do. It's supposed to not be this fast.
Right.
So I was like, I really think I'm going to die. So I just closed my eyes.
Yeah.
Put my hands over my eyes and I said, I don't want to see my death coming.
Yeah.
So that's how I did the whole ride. And we finally got off and I said, that wasn't supposed to happen. And they were like, no, it wasn't. And we all agreed like, let's leave.
Yeah. I fucking loved that one.
It's fun. That's why you went on twice until the second time.
Well, and before, it was like how I felt like a badass before I did upside down roller coasters and I could only do like the big wooden ones.
Mm-hmm. That was a good one.
The wooden one is what fucked up my head too, so.
Well, they're so rickety.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so roller coasters, Lake Shawnee Amusement Park, haunted in West Virginia.
Make sure wherever you go, always has safety precautions.
Yeah.
And if something doesn't feel right, get off.
Yes.
Because if that guy didn't get off at Final Destination, he would have blown up in the plane with everybody else.
Right. And then death continued to follow him, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed. Rate and review us on all the things like we say. And to the people who keep asking, do you want my scary stories? Yes.
Yes, we do. You don't even have to ask.
You don't need to ask. Just send them because we got another one. Thank you very much. We hope to collect a few more and then we will do a listeners episode.
Which I'm excited because I've never done, so we need more so that I can do it.
Yeah, so send them to us at ascarystatepodcast@gmail.com.
Yes, please.
So I think that's all we have for you. So stay scary.
Stay safe.